And I'll put up the pictures and the video of you being shot, over us talking, so people can see exactly what happened and what it looked like. And I'll share the X-rays that you have on your X account as well, because
Yeah, I was just standing there when they shot me. Like it wasn't even like it didn't make any sense. I thought I got hit with a baseball bat because it was. I'm assuming it was full of sand because I was spitting out sand for like 2 weeks, and there was plastic chunks like coming out of my face for 2 months, 3 months. That's why I finally got the X-rays because I kept like trying to use my tongue to, and I couldn't get tweezers or I couldn't get anything because you're in jail. They won't give you anything metal. So having some tweezers would have been nice to pull chunks out. But I've got pictures of chunks that I pulled out, and I've got a quarter beside it for a size reference, and it is pretty gruesome. I mean,
oh yeah. And do you have any idea why they shot you?
they were trying to start a riot.
You think so? Was there anyone else around you maybe that they were trying to hit besides you?
Well, when they brought the video to court, they said that I deserved it because there was a guy standing beside him with a camera, and he pointed at me, and he said since he pointed at me, that meant I deserved to be shot because he wouldn't have pointed at me if I didn't deserve it. And I'm sitting over there in court, and my lawyer said, "Whatever you do, don't say anything."
They actually argued that in court?
And I'm over there like, "Well, something about this because just yeah, that's what they said in court was like if he got shot, he got shot because he deserved it." And then they showed the video, and there's no video of me deserving it at all.
Yeah.
I was just standing there.
I've seen the video. It was before the barricades had been breached or anything. It was before they put out the gas or anything. You literally got shot for no reason.
Well, I was actually trying to help the cops most of the time I was there. I thought they were on, like, I didn't want the Capitol overrun. I wanted them to let us in. And I wasn't going to force my way in. I was going to be let in. It didn't wind up working out that way, but that was my intention. I got up until the cop said stop, and I stopped. Because as a Christian, you're supposed to obey those in authority, and that's what I live by.
Yeah.
I love to speed, but I go the speed limit because I'm a Christian. I love to go fast. Like, I get a V8, I'm in trouble. I've got a Harley sitting over here in my room, and it's like I can't hardly drive it because I'm going to wind up. I know me. Like yeah. I'll never buy a crotch rocket because I'd either wind up in prison or dead.
Right.
So I obey the law. That's the way that's just as a Christian, I'm kind of obligated, so.
Well, I don't want to shift away from I don't want to shift away from the discussion about your time in prison. But if you want to share more about that, we can go more into that. Or if you would like to explain to me how you ended up at the Capitol, like what brought you there. How did you end up in the crowd? How did you end up at the front of the crowd?
Well, I went there because I felt like the Lord wanted me to. Like it's hard to explain if you're not a Christian, but when I say the Lord told me, it wasn't like an audible voice that shook the room kind of thing. It was just, I knew I had to be there, and my conscience was telling me you have to be there. And I thought, I said, well, and I wasn't sure. So I said, okay, Lord, I'm not going. And I felt like I'd sinned. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm going. And I had peace. And I was like, okay, I think he really wants me to go. And I didn't really want to go. So I kept praying about it and kept praying about it and kept praying about it. Wound up fasting for like 2 or 3 days, thinking about it, like trying to talk myself out of it because I really didn't want to go because that was a bunch of money I didn't want to spend. I'm cheap. I like to save money, but I couldn't get away from it. I knew I had to be there. And that's the best way I can explain it.
So, walk me through that day then, or walk me through the events leading up to that day. Where did you go first that day on January 6th?
Well, January 4th, there was a rally in, I think it was Rome, Georgia. I'm not sure. It was North Georgia. And I'd never been to a Trump rally, and I figured since it was over and they were stealing the election, then there wasn't ever going to be another Trump rally. So I figured if I'm ever going to get to go to one, I'd rather watch it on TV or YouTube, So I thought, well, I better go to one. And I went, and it was unbelievable. The patriotism, the peace, everybody was happy. It was like Woodstock without the drugs. This was the greatest. Like, I was like, this is amazing. I even went to this one black dude that had the shirt I wound up wearing when I went into the Capitol, but it said Blacks for Trump 2020.com or something like that. And I walked up to him. I said, hey, look, man, my last name's Black. I said, where can I get one of those shirts? He goes, your last name's really Black? I said, yeah. I said, I'm the only black guy here. And he laughed. He goes like, I'll tell you what. He goes, you can have mine. I got a bunch of them. And I was like, all right, man, appreciate it. So he took it off right there in the parking lot and handed it to me. Wow. And I mean, that's just where the whole thing was. It was just like really great. But there was also an air where like everybody knew that the two people that the senators that they was doing the rally for, we knew they were rhinos. So like nobody thought they were going to win, because it wasn't a presidential election. So people don't really show up, and they'd already stolen it all. So like you could kind of tell that everybody pretty much knew that they weren't going to win, so there was that feeling in there too. But it's the same when I got to the Capitol. It was like I've never felt more patriotic. It was, people were singing God Bless America. It was like these Chinese people were crying. That broke my heart because they were like talking in Chinese, and they had a lady translating for us. She was like, we lived under communism, and if America falls, where do we go now? And they were like literally weeping. It was like, it broke my heart. I was like, oh my gosh, like, where are we going to go? There's nowhere to go, Yeah. So that it's still, when I think about it now, I get about teared up because it's like they were heartbroken. And there was like 10 or 12 Chinese people talking about, they had signs like, a bunch, I've got pictures of it. I don't remember what they said, but they had a bunch of signs they were holding, like, China wants the Bidens in there or something. Like it was, but when I saw them weeping, like not a little bit of crying, they were like runny nose, full blown wet face, like it was full blown crying, and I was like, wow, like it might be worse than I thought it was, but it was, the whole atmosphere was, but it was peaceful. It was patriotic. It was, the Spirit of God was there. You could feel God's presence, but there was something in the air also that was like, something here ain't right. Like I couldn't tell you what it was at the time because it hadn't happened yet, but I just, like, everybody had that look on their face, like something ain't right here, like where's Antifa? Because they always, like they go out and start busting heads everywhere they go, and they were nowhere to be seen. Nowhere. There was no Antifa anywhere, so that was kind of weird. Well, but the whole thing, like, I've never been more proud to be an American than I was before I got shot, Well,
how do you feel to be an American after this whole process?
Well, if Trump had lost this one, if they'd stolen this one, or if he'd just lost, then I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I really don't. I don't want to say on camera America would have been over. I really honestly believe that would have been the end of the American experiment, because
I share the same sentiment. I share the same sentiment there, because if Kamala had gotten in, who knows what, I sincerely feel like we'd be in World War III.
Well, they want that.
I mean,
it's evil beyond comprehension.
Yeah,
it's selfish.
Regardless of what you feel, or how you feel about Trump or whatever, the options were in this election Biden, Trump, or Harris. And out of those three options, it's Trump every time. I mean, you look at the 4 years that he had, and if you don't count COVID, it was one of the best presidencies we've had in modern history. And that's just an unbiased opinion. That there's no, like, I don't go one. I try not to go one way or another. But lately, I've been leaning Republican just because the truth is on their side nowadays.
Well, eggs had 400% inflation.
Yeah,
my dad said, I think it was my dad said he went and bought 6 eggs, and it was like $3 or $4 for $4 or $5 for half a dozen eggs. He said, I used to could afford to buy the whole dozen.
Yeah.
And my dad's pretty funny, but he was like, yeah, I used to could afford a whole dozen. And it's like, they keep saying 9% inflation. I don't know where they do math at, but there's been at least 100%.
I mean,
everything's done.
Yeah,
everything.
You can't trust the government when it comes to numbers and statistics. I mean, we look at crime statistics too, and where there's examples that happen all the time of Hispanic people being labeled as white after committing a crime. It's so that way they can skew the statistics. So they're always lying about the actual numbers and stuff like that. It's better to go off personal experience. Me, as someone who lives in California, yes, milk and eggs are up, gas is up, everything's up. A lot, so it's they're basically telling you not to believe your lying eyes, and people are waking up to it, thankfully.
Well, that's one thing I've noticed since Trump's election it seems to me, and I don't know this 100%. It's not like God told me this, but I've just got a really strong feeling that God is opening people's eyes at a faster rate than ever before in history. It's like, look at what Zuckerberg said. And I don't know if he was, I mean, I'm not going to really comment on that because I don't know for sure, but I, in my gut, I think that he's serious. I think he got played and he realized it and he thought, wow, I'm an American, but I've been working for the enemy of America. And I think he's telling the truth. I really do. I mean, I don't know that for sure. God didn't speak to me. I can't say that's a prophecy or anything, but
Yeah.
I think he's waking up, and I think it's not just him. Like Elon Musk, he was a leftist, a liberal, a Democrat, maybe not far left, but he was a liberal, and now he bought X and gave us free speech back,
Well,
and
I mean,
now Zuck
so
getting
was
on
Joe
board.
Rogan. Joe Rogan wasn't on the side of Trump either, but now he is.
But it's happening. It's all over the world too. There's stuff happening. Trump is not even in office yet, and people are waking, like all that stuff going on in England. Have you heard about that?
Oh, of course, I've been following all that with the with the grooming gangs. I'll say, I won't say the actual word. I can't say that on YouTube.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
if
the stories
if you
that are
think
coming from
that's
that are
okay,
terrible.
it's worse than terrible. You haven't heard the actual.
Well, no,
Well, you may have because you were on Timcast on the after show when they were talking about that.
yeah, they were talking about it on Piers Morgan too. Tim was on Piers Morgan yesterday. They were also talking about it then. And yeah, no, the stories coming out of that, terrible is not a good enough word to describe it. You're completely right.
Unbelievable.
It's unhuman. It's inhuman what they're doing over there. Absolutely disgusting. But